the money belief that's keeping you broke. Rewire it with Napoleon Hill. What if I told you that the biggest reason you're not building wealth isn't your job, your background, or your effort, but a belief? A silent, deeply rooted idea in your mind. One you didn't choose consciously. One that's been quietly shaping your financial reality for years. Not with force, but with limits. And until you find it, question it, and rewire it, you will stay stuck in the same patterns, no matter how hard you work. Napoleon Hill knew this. He didn't build Think and Grow Rich as a book of tips. He built it as a manual for internal transformation. Because the truth is, wealth starts in the mind. Not in your resume. Not in your business card. In your subconscious programming. He wrote, "Success comes to those who become success conscious." But how do you become success conscious when your entire life has conditioned you to believe otherwise? In this video, we're going to uncover the one hidden belief that keeps most people broke. We'll expose where it comes from, how it shows up in your daily thoughts and behaviors, and, more importantly, how to reprogram it, using the same methods Hill taught his readers nearly a century ago. You'll learn why the words, "money is evil," are more dangerous than any economic downturn. Why hearing "we can't afford that" as a child creates invisible limits that follow you into adulthood. And how even people who read success books, start businesses, and dream big still sabotage themselves when they don't deal with this root. But we're not stopping at awareness. This is not just a therapy session. It's a strategy session. You'll walk away with a practical, step-by-step method to change your financial identity, from scarcity-driven to growth-driven, from guilt-based to value-based, from fear to clarity. We'll talk about how Hill used autosuggestion to rewire thought patterns, how belief, backed by emotion, creates new results, and how the most successful people in the world aren't always the smartest, but they've learned to align their inner world with the financial life they want. If you've ever felt like you're working hard but going in circles, if you've ever made progress only to watch it collapse later, if you've ever looked around and thought, "I know I'm capable of more," this video is for you. Because before you build wealth externally, you must remove the virus running silently in your operating system. And once you do, you'll start to act, decide, and create like the wealthy person you were always meant to become. Let's begin. The hidden belief that keeps you broke, where it begins and why it persists. There's a belief living inside you that you didn't choose. It's subtle, familiar, woven into your thoughts, your habits, and your emotions about money. And because you've lived with it so long, you don't even recognize it as a belief. You think it's truth. That belief is this: money is dangerous. Sometimes it wears different clothes. Money changes people. Rich people are selfish. If I make too much, I'll lose something. Too much money brings too many problems. I don't deserve that kind of life. But it all leads to the same outcome. You unconsciously push wealth away, even while consciously chasing it. Napoleon Hill understood this dilemma better than most. He wrote, "Any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought. But what happens when the ideas placed in your mind again and again, since childhood, are limiting? What if, without realizing it, you've been hypnotized by the beliefs of people who were struggling themselves?" Let's go back to where it begins. The origin, childhood conditioning. No one is born afraid of money. We learn fear. You may have heard things like, "Money doesn't grow on trees." Who do you think we are, millionaires? Rich people are greedy. We can't afford that. People like us don't live like that. They sound innocent, practical, even. But each time you heard them, your subconscious mind took notes. It learned a lesson. Having money equals danger, guilt, or rejection. And your brain, built to protect you, decided that if money means problems, rejection, or shame, then staying broke is safer. This is how emotional safety gets linked to financial limitation. You didn't choose that pattern. But unless you confront it, it runs your life. You might grow up, read every personal finance book, build a business, even make good money, and still find ways to lose it, sabotage it, or stay stuck at a certain level. Because your external efforts can never outrun your internal programming. This is what Hill meant when he said, "More gold has been mined from the mines of men than has ever been taken from the earth." But you can't mine gold from a mind filled with invisible rejection of wealth. How the belief persists in adulthood. Even now, this belief operates under the radar. It shows up in subtle ways. You undercharge for your services. You hesitate to make offers. You feel guilt when you make more than your parents did. You procrastinate when things start going well. You feel anxious when a payment hits your account. You sabotage deals or avoid financial conversations. You tell yourself it's not the right time, or I need to learn more first, but deep down, your identity isn't aligned with wealth yet. That's not laziness. That's protection. Your subconscious is guarding you from what it was taught to fear. Being seen, being judged, being different, being successful. This belief doesn't scream. It whispers. And because it hides behind logic, it can stay with you for decades. Hill's most powerful insight was this: the subconscious mind does not filter or judge, it accepts what is repeated with emotion. So if you grew up repeating thoughts of scarcity, surrounded by emotion, stress, or shame, your subconscious accepted them as law. And it's still obeying them now. That's why hard work isn't enough. Why strategy isn't enough. Why more hours don't always bring more results. Because if the underlying belief says money isn't safe, then your brain will do everything in its power to keep you from having too much of it. The core conflict: desire versus identity. Most people live in constant contradiction. They desire wealth, freedom, options, peace of mind, but they hold an identity of scarcity. They say, "I want to earn $20,000 a month." But inside, the voice says, "Who do you think you are?" They say, "I want financial freedom." But inside, the program says, "That's not for people like us." That gap, between conscious desire and unconscious belief, is the space where dreams die. You feel stuck, even when you're doing all the right things. You feel blocked, even when you have the knowledge. You start strong, but something always breaks the momentum. It's not the world. It's not your market. It's not even your strategy. It's the belief underneath all of it, still running the same script. Too much money will cost me something I'm not willing to lose. Maybe you think success will isolate you. Maybe you believe people will resent you. Maybe you're afraid your family won't understand. Maybe you fear becoming someone you won't recognize. Whatever it is, until you face it, you'll stay below your potential. Not because you're weak, but because your subconscious is loyal to an outdated identity. The first step to change: awareness without shame. Here's the good news: this belief is not your fault, but it is your responsibility now. You didn't choose the system that taught you to fear wealth. But you can now choose whether to keep obeying it. And the first step is awareness. Start noticing where this belief shows up in your life. Not with judgment, not with shame, but with curiosity. When you delay sending that invoice, pause and ask, "What am I afraid of?" When you avoid checking your bank balance, ask, "What story am I believing right now?" When you feel resistance to raising your prices, ask, "Who taught me that more is wrong?" Each question opens a crack in the program, and light starts to get in. This is the mental excavation process Hill referred to, digging into the soil of your mind, removing the weeds of inherited limitation, and planting new roots. But before you can reprogram, you must see the program. Because what you don't reveal, you can't rewire. En el próximo bloque, Exploraremos como reprogramar esta creencia limitante usando autosuggestion, emoción repetida, y los métodos originales de Napoleon Hill, adaptados al mundo moderno. Una vez que entiendes el enemigo, puedes construir la estrategia para vencerlo. Y es hasta ahora tu mente ha sido el limite, a partir del siguiente bloque, se convertirá en tu mejor activo. The mind doesn't respond to logic, it responds to repetition backed by emotion. You can't argue your way into a new financial identity. You must install it. This is where most people fail. They try to force new results while obeying old beliefs. They build businesses, send offers, invest in strategies, but inside, a voice still says, I'm not the kind of person who succeeds at this level. Until that voice changes, the outcomes won't. The process is not about affirmations that sound good. It's about rewiring the identity that drives your decisions. And that requires a system. Start by writing a new belief, one that directly contradicts the old one. Not something vague like, I am abundant, but something specific, emotional, and tied to action. Example. I create wealth by providing massive value, and the more I earn, the more people I serve. Money is safe with me. I use it wisely, and it multiplies in my hands. This statement must be spoken aloud twice daily, once in the morning to direct your day, and once before sleep to embed it in your subconscious. But words alone aren't enough. You must feel them. As you speak, close your eyes and visualize it as true. See the transaction. See the account growing. Hear the client thank you. Feel the pride. Let your body respond. This emotional reinforcement tells your subconscious, this is real. This is safe. This is who I am now. At first, you'll feel resistance. That's not failure, it's friction from old programming being challenged. The goal isn't to eliminate doubt. The goal is to outnumber it. Every repetition becomes a vote for the new belief. And eventually, the balance tips. Now link this belief to daily action. If you say, I am a value creator who earns with purpose, then you must ask, what will I do today that proves that? Send the email. Raise the price. Post the content. Offer the product. Each action, no matter how small, becomes evidence. And the mind trusts what it sees more than what it says. This is how belief becomes identity, when behavior aligns. Track these actions. At the end of each day, write down 3 ways you lived your new belief. This builds momentum. It turns mental shifts into physical proof. Guard your inputs. If you're trying to build a wealth identity while surrounded by people who fear money, mock success, or live in victim mentality, your system will glitch. Audit your environment. Protect your mind. Speak the belief. Feel the belief. Act on the belief. Reinforce it with results. In time, you'll notice the change. You'll stop hesitating. You'll start choosing differently. Opportunities will feel normal instead of intimidating. Receiving will feel earned instead of dangerous. And one day, without effort, you'll realize the old belief is gone. Not because you fought it, but because you replaced it. That's how you rewire the invisible script that controls your financial life. And once it's rewritten, you'll stop chasing wealth and start attracting it, by being the person it was always trying to find. You've been told to follow the money. But the truth is, the money follows your energy. And nothing exposes your true beliefs like the way life starts to speak back when you try to change. Once you begin reprogramming your inner world, the external world responds. Sometimes quietly, sometimes loudly, in patterns, in people, and especially in signs. At this stage, many people report strange synchronicities. They start seeing the same numbers. Opportunities show up out of nowhere. Someone mentions a book you were just thinking about. A client you didn't expect reaches out. You're offered something at the exact moment you need it. This isn't magic. It's alignment. What once seemed random now becomes readable. Why? Because you've shifted your signal. You're no longer operating from fear, guilt, or lack. You're sending out a new frequency, one built on value, intention, and expansion. And like a magnet, the world adjusts. But here's the key. You must learn to read these signs without falling into fantasy. The subconscious speaks in symbols. Napoleon Hill called this the sixth sense, a faculty that develops once desire, faith, autosuggestion, and persistence have been mastered. It's intuition sharpened by discipline. Most people ignore it, or worse, mistranslate it. You dream of receiving a large payment, but then dismiss it as random. You get an idea to message someone, but talk yourself out of it. You feel a clear nudge to act, but hesitate, waiting for certainty. Success doesn't come to those who wait for full clarity. It comes to those who trust the early signals and act before logic gives permission. This is the moment where belief becomes embodied, not just in words, but in responsiveness. You don't just speak your goals, you listen to what life reflects back. Start keeping a synchronicity log. Track patterns. Repeating phrases. People who show up with aligned energy. Unexpected yes. Unexpected no's. This isn't superstition. It's pattern recognition. When your mind is reprogramming, the world mirrors it. But only the trained see it, and only the courageous move on it. There will be tests too. Moments that feel like setbacks, but are actually calibrations. A client backs out. A launch fails. An idea falls flat. You may think the new programming isn't working. But often, these are purification moments. The old version of you is shedding layers. The identity that feared money is resisting its exit. Hold the line. These disruptions aren't signals to quit, they're signs you're getting close. Closer to congruence. Closer to truth. Closer to a reality that can hold more of what you've declared you want. This is where most people give up. They take the noise as a verdict. But those who persist, who read the feedback, refine the vision, and move forward, are the ones who break through. Don't just wait for signs. Respond to them. The email that scares you? Send it. The offer that excites you? Launch it. The price that stretches you? Own it. Because life starts whispering before it ever shouts. And the more you trust your new identity, the louder those whispers become. Until they're no longer whispers. They're results. You've rewritten the belief. You've started to speak, feel, and act as the person who welcomes wealth. You've seen the first signs. The world shifting, aligning. But then, something happens. You hit a wall. You feel doubt again. The old anxiety creeps back in. You lose momentum. The voice returns, maybe I'm not cut out for this. And you wonder, was all that inner work just a momentary high? No. What you're facing now is the resistance between who you were and who you're becoming. It's not failure. It's a threshold. Hill never promised a straight path. In fact, he warned that just before success arrives, most people meet temporary defeat and misinterpret it as a sign to stop. But that wall you're hitting? It's not the end. It's a checkpoint. A final exam from your old identity asking, are you sure you've changed? And this is the moment where the transformation deepens. Because until now, your new belief has been internal. Now, life wants you to embody it, even when nothing around you seems to support it yet. This is the phase of self-leadership. You no longer rely on external motivation. You lead yourself through uncertainty, fatigue, silence. So how do you lead yourself across this line? Start by recognizing the pattern. Whenever someone breaks through a financial ceiling, they go through this dip. The initial shift feels powerful. Small results appear. Resistance shows up. Confusion and discouragement rise. Most people retreat here, but the few who stay consistent compound. This is when your routine matters most. When emotions are low, structure is salvation. You don't need to feel good to keep going. You just need a system that holds you steady. Review your plan. Tighten your focus. Simplify your actions. One belief spoken with power every morning. One aligned action taken daily. One proof of progress written down each night. This is emotional repetition under pressure, the true rewiring process. And something else begins to happen here. You begin to face your emotional debt. Old shame. Family guilt. Imposter feelings. Fear of outgrowing people you love. These emotions are part of the old program. They're not here to destroy you, they're surfacing to be released. Feel them. Witness them. But don't let them choose your future. Say out loud, I can feel this, and still move forward. I can carry doubt, and still act like the version of me who earns more. I can honor my past, without being loyal to its limits. This is maturity. This is the moment where wealth stops being an idea and becomes a responsibility. Because when the world stops clapping, and results are delayed, and the spark fades, you will have to choose, do I trust the new version of me, or do I shrink to stay familiar? It's here that identity becomes destiny. If you persist, if you keep speaking truth in the face of silence, if you keep acting when it would be easier to retreat, the world will begin to match your energy again. You'll notice small breakthroughs. A message. A referral. A payment. A new insight. Like a lock clicking open, your persistence activates the next level. And here's what changes. You stop chasing validation. You stop begging the world to confirm your worth. You start building momentum from the inside out. You begin to realize, I don't need permission to win. Because now, your belief isn't based on outcomes. It's based on alignment. That's the true breakthrough. Not when others finally see your value, but when you no longer need them to. You've crossed the threshold. The old belief, money is dangerous, success is unsafe, I'm not that person, has no power here. Not because you fought it, but because you outgrew it. You replaced it with truth, reinforced it with action, and proved it with persistence. This is the moment that separates the dreamers from the doers. Not the strategy, not the tactics, but the willingness to keep showing up when it's not easy. You've earned the right to rise. Now, build the rest of your life like you know it. You made it through the threshold. The resistance, the silence, the inner war, none of it broke you. And now, something shifts. You're no longer reacting to life, you're building it. But here's what most people never see coming. Wealth brings its own set of emotional challenges. The deeper truth is this: success isn't just about getting more money. It's about becoming someone who can hold it, manage it, multiply it, without crumbling under the weight of everything it brings. And one of the greatest saboteurs of wealth is something few talk about. Emotional sabotage rooted in unresolved self-worth. You can reprogram the belief. You can repeat the affirmations. You can take consistent action. But if deep down you still feel unworthy of receiving, of keeping, or of enjoying money, it will find a way to leave. And it won't look like failure at first. It'll look like undercharging again, giving discounts you never meant to offer, spending impulsively as soon as income rises, over-delivering to the point of burnout, avoiding financial tracking or conversations, feeling guilty when things go well. Why? Because your nervous system doesn't feel safe with success. Napoleon Hill spoke about the subconscious as a servant, not a master. But if you haven't trained it properly, it will quietly drive every financial decision you make. This is where your work becomes emotional mastery. You need to learn how to hold wealth without flinching, without guilt, without apology, without shrinking. You do this by first recognizing that earning and keeping money is not a betrayal of your roots. Maybe you came from a family that struggled. Maybe the idea of having more than your parents feels uncomfortable. Maybe success feels like abandonment. You must rewrite that story. Keeping money, growing it, investing it, these are not acts of greed. They're acts of responsibility. They're proof that you've evolved beyond survival. You honor your past not by repeating its limits, but by building a future it could have never imagined. Now create a daily ritual to stabilize this shift. Every morning, ask yourself, what part of me still feels unworthy of receiving? How can I care for that part today without letting it lead? How does the version of me who holds wealth act this morning? And at night, where did I act like someone who respects money today? Where did I shrink? Why? What will I do differently tomorrow? This is integration. This is healing. This is what turns financial growth into something sustainable. Because you don't just want more, you want peace with more. The old model was, get rich to feel worthy. The new model is, feel worthy first, and wealth will find you ready. This is why so many successful people collapse. They build external empires on internal cracks. And when the pressure increases, the structure caves in. You will not. You're building on something different. Clarity, identity, belief, repetition, self-leadership, emotional maturity, and now, capacity. You're expanding the size of your container. Because money doesn't change who you are, it amplifies it. And now, who you are is solid. The fear has been seen. The guilt has been challenged. The limits have been broken. And from here forward, your work isn't to prove anything. It's to embody everything you've already become. Not louder. Not busier. Just deeper. Stronger. Clearer. This is financial worth from the inside out. And once it clicks, you'll never sabotage your wealth again. By now, you've reprogrammed the core belief. You've acted through resistance. You've stabilized your emotional foundation. And you're starting to feel something rare, peaceful power. Not hype, not adrenaline, but grounded certainty. The quiet knowing, this is who I am now. And now comes the next evolution, the shift from personal transformation to structural permanence. Because wealth isn't just a mindset. It's a system. You don't want just one good month. You want consistent, sustainable growth. You want your new beliefs to be reflected not only in how you feel, but in how you operate. This is where you build what Napoleon Hill called the plan, the structure of organized achievement. If your belief is the engine, your plan is the vehicle, and your habits are the fuel. Let's build the machine. First, create your money operating system. This is a simple set of protocols that turn your new identity into repeatable financial results. Start with 4 categories. Earning, how does money come to me? Managing, where does it go? Multiplying, how does it grow? Giving, how do I circulate it with purpose? Under each, define simple, powerful behaviors. Earning. I make one direct offer every day. I spend 1 hour building assets, not just income. I speak to one potential client, partner, or opportunity daily. Managing. I review my numbers every Friday without emotion. I assign a purpose to every dollar. Multiplying. I reinvest a fixed percentage into skills, tools, or growth vehicles. I study one new wealth principle per week. Giving. I circulate money where it expands impact, not ego. I give without attachment, knowing money flows back. These are not rules. They are reflections of your new standard. And once they're lived consistently, wealth becomes structural, no longer dependent on emotion or momentum. Next, build what Hill called your mastermind environment. You've done the internal work. Now you need relational alignment. Look around. Who speaks in abundance? Who thinks in solutions? Who challenges you to rise? And just as important, who drains your focus? Who confirms your old identity? Who keeps you small? Success cannot thrive in isolation. Even Hill, who wrote the most powerful personal philosophy ever put on paper, was clear. No individual may have great power without availing himself of the mastermind. If you can't find these people yet, read them. Watch them. Speak their language until they appear. But never settle for an environment that contradicts your new path. Now install time protection. Your new belief has reshaped your energy. But that energy still needs a container. Audit your calendar. Where are you spending hours in reaction instead of creation? What meetings, apps, tasks, or distractions are leaking your potential? Build wealth time into your day. Even one focused hour every morning on building offers, nurturing leads, and managing money can change your life in 90 days. Wealth isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the quiet repetitions. And finally, integrate your identity everywhere. Update your language. Stop saying, "I hope." Start saying, "I'm creating." Stop saying, "If it works." Start saying, "Until it works." Update your environment. Surround yourself with visuals that reflect your vision. Quotes, dashboards, goals, contracts in progress. Make your space speak your new frequency. Update your relationships. Speak about money with power, not fear, not apology. Normalize abundance. Normalize offers. Normalize charging, growing, winning. Update your decisions. Ask, daily, does this move me toward or away from the version of me I've become? Would the wealth version of me say yes to this? What would be the bold move today? This is how you turn belief into infrastructure. So the breakthrough you created isn't a moment, it's a model. It holds. It grows. It scales. Even when you feel off. Even when life gets noisy. Because it's not dependent on how you feel. It's built into how you live. You no longer need to remind yourself who you are. Every system around you does it for you. And when the world sees that, when every part of your life speaks one unified truth, wealth becomes inevitable. You've crossed the threshold. Not just in theory, but in your systems, in your environment, and in the way you show up when no one's watching. But there's one final level most people never address. One that silently decides whether the success you're building will sustain itself or slowly collapse. Your nervous system. The truth is, you don't rise to your goals. You fall to the level of what your body believes is safe. You might say, "I want to earn more." But if your nervous system still associates visibility, leadership, or abundance with danger, you'll unconsciously sabotage the moment things start working. You'll procrastinate on scaling. You'll delay launching. You'll feel discomfort the moment things flow easily. And without knowing why, you'll pull yourself back. This is not mindset. This is wiring. And unless you address it, you'll keep repeating cycles, no matter how much inner work you've done. Let's take a closer look. Every time you tried to succeed in the past and it didn't work, your body stored that disappointment. Every time you were shamed for wanting more, laughed at for dreaming bigger, or punished for standing out, your nervous system took notes. And now, even as your beliefs shift, your body is still running an outdated alert system. Too much money equals exposure. Too much growth equals judgment. Too much visibility equals danger. Too much joy equals a fall is coming. That's why people feel anxiety after a breakthrough. That's why peace can feel boring. That's why progress can feel like pressure instead of momentum. But here's the key. You can recondition your nervous system, just like you reconditioned your beliefs. And this is where integration becomes somatic. You must train your body to feel safe with success. Start small. When you notice money coming in easily, pause. Don't distract. Don't downplay. Breathe into it. Hold it. Whisper to yourself, "This is safe. This is normal. This is who I am now." When you raise your price or ask for more, track the sensation. Where's the tightness? The fear? The need to apologize? Don't override it. Witness it. Sit with it. Breathe into it. Let the discomfort dissolve. This is how you rewire safety. Success stops feeling like a spike and starts feeling like a steady pulse. Make this part of your routine. 3 minutes a day of stillness after progress. Let the body catch up. 1 moment of emotional regulation when stress hits. Remind the system, nothing's wrong. Daily movement. Walk. Stretch. Strengthen. The body must feel capable, not just the mind. Hill taught that thought creates belief, but he also hinted that emotion gives it life. The body is the bridge between your mental program and your physical results. The goal isn't to eliminate fear. The goal is to become a person who can feel fear and stay regulated and still move forward. That's true personal power. And it's rare. Because it requires you to stop being addicted to adrenaline, validation, and survival patterns. It asks you to normalize what once felt too big. To feel joy without panic. To hold success without bracing for the fall. To receive money without guilt. When you reach this level, something incredible happens. Success becomes calm. Wealth becomes rhythmic. Action becomes intuitive. You don't second guess. You don't self-destruct. You no longer feel like you're chasing something. You feel like you've arrived, and you're just expanding it. And from here forward, the game changes. Because now, you are the system. Stable. Rooted. Clear. You don't just talk about abundance. You hold it in your posture. You don't just affirm success. You breathe it. You don't just act wealthy. You feel wealthy. And the world? It mirrors you, because life always reflects the level of safety your body allows. So give it a new signal. I am safe. I am stable. I am expanding. I am ready. Not someday. No. There's a level of wealth you've dreamed of, visualized, written down. You've imagined what it would feel like. The freedom. The impact. The deep exhale of knowing you made it. But here's the truth almost no one tells you. You can't receive what your energy is still pushing away. Even after all the inner work, even after action, systems, and strategy, there may still be a silent conflict between the abundance you say you want and the energy you're still broadcasting. Because energy doesn't lie. You can say the affirmations. You can post the content. You can check off the habits. But if your core frequency is still rooted in proving, grasping, chasing, or survival, you won't be able to fully receive. That's the final shift, from forcing to receiving. Napoleon Hill spoke about the sixth sense, the higher faculty that only awakens when all other principles are in harmony. That's this. This is where you no longer hustle toward wealth. You become the vessel that wealth flows to and through. And that requires surrender. Not surrender as passivity, but as energetic trust. You trust your actions because they're aligned. You trust your worth because it's integrated. You trust your value because it's embodied. Now, instead of asking, "How do I get more?" you ask, "How do I hold more with grace?" This is the moment where receiving becomes your new discipline. You let go of urgency. You remove the chase. You stop tying your value to performance. You step into energetic neutrality. I can want more, without needing it to prove anything. I can receive fully, without guilt or shame. I can grow big and stay grounded. And you begin to see money differently, not as an escape, not as power, not as validation, but as a mirror. It reflects your frequency, your boundaries, your belief, your alignment. So now ask, does your business feel heavy or light? Does your pricing feel clean or chaotic? Does your message feel true or filtered? Does your offer feel magnetic or forced? These answers tell you whether you're attracting or chasing. And this is not just theory. It's practice. Start building rituals of receptivity. Sit in silence with no agenda and breathe deeply for 3 minutes a day. Place your hand over your heart and say, "It's safe to receive more." Celebrate every dollar, every yes, every small win as a sign that you're open. When money comes in, pause and feel it, not just logically, but somatically. When someone praises you, don't deflect, absorb it. Let your nervous system register the new reality. You're expanding your capacity not just to earn, but to receive without contraction. Because this is the most advanced wealth principle. Allowing. Not passive. Not lazy. But available. Open. Grounded. Certain. And once you live from that space, everything accelerates. Ideas flow faster. Opportunities find you. Clients respond with ease. Decisions become simpler. Not because the world changed, but because your frequency did. You're no longer trying to become successful. You are success, expressed in every word, decision, and breath. And the people around you feel it. The way you speak, the way you move, the way you walk into a room. You don't ask for space anymore. You command it, silently. You no longer seek permission to earn, to win, to take up space. You're already inside the version of you who belongs at every table you used to doubt. This is the final level. Not more doing. Not more proving. Just presence. Power. Precision. Because now, your life runs on a new code. Belief, reinforced. Identity, integrated. Energy, aligned. Structure, built. Value, offered. Money, received. Without fear. Without guilt. Without apology. And the wealth you were trying to manifest? It's been circling this whole time, waiting for you to become the version of you who could receive it fully. Now you are. You've just completed a journey most people never take. Not because they can't, but because it's easier to stay in the illusion. Easier to chase tactics. Easier to blame the economy, the past, or the algorithm. Easier to read books than to rewire belief. Easier to set goals than to become someone who embodies the results. But you didn't come here for easy. You came here to end the cycle. You came here to get honest. You came here to do what most avoid. Face the real reason your wealth has been stuck. And now there's no going back. You've seen how a single belief, quiet, inherited, and repeated, can shape your entire financial life. Not because it's true, but because it's unquestioned. You've exposed it. You've rewritten it. You've begun to replace it with repetition, vision, and action. And you've done more than shift your mindset. You've shifted your identity. Because wealth doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you are when no one's watching. The routines. The structure. The self-talk. The emotion behind your decisions. The nervous system behind your habits. The honesty behind your intentions. And now, you're calibrated. Let's stop here and be clear. This isn't about being done. You are not finished. Because this work doesn't end. It compounds. You will face new layers of fear, new levels of guilt, new ceilings of disbelief. But you'll meet them differently now. Not as the old version of you, the one who needed certainty to move, but as the new version, the one who moves and then becomes certain. This is the edge. The real one. Not the edge of motivation. The edge of embodiment. Where your nervous system stabilizes at a new level. Where your standards no longer wobble. Where you no longer negotiate with fear, because you don't need to anymore. You've lived scarcity. You've lived guilt. You've played small. You've questioned your worth every time something good arrived. But now, you choose different. You speak different. You sit different. You earn different. You receive different. Because you are not your past patterns. You are the architect of your next reality. That's not a slogan. That's a fact. And you've proven it in every block of this process. You've done what most people never do. You've looked behind the curtain. You've stopped lying to yourself. You've taken full responsibility for your beliefs, your energy, your actions, and your results. And now, the results must catch up. Because they always do. Not immediately. Not in perfect sequence. But inevitably. Because belief backed by structure, emotion, identity, and strategy becomes matter. It becomes business. It becomes income. It becomes options. It becomes peace. And that's the greatest wealth of all. Not just more money, but a life that feels right at every level. You're no longer hustling to feel worthy. You're no longer shrinking to be accepted. You're no longer rejecting abundance with old code. Now everything fits. The purpose, the process, the price, the pace, the presence. So what happens next? You decide. You can take this new wiring and collapse back into convenience. Or you can protect it like your greatest asset, because it is. You can talk about it, or you can build from it. You can wait for more clarity, or you can create results in motion. You don't need more research. You don't need one more month to feel ready. You are ready now, not because of what you've learned, but because of what you've let go. Let go of smallness. Let go of guilt. Let go of timelines that aren't yours. Let go of trying to earn your place at the table. You are the table. You bring the value. You hold the power. You write the terms. And money responds to that. To leadership. To embodiment. To calm. To clarity. To structure. To you. So no more waiting. No more hoping. No more rehearsing. Build the offer. Raise the price. Send the message. Track the numbers. Deliver the value. Reinforce the belief. Rest when needed, but never abandon the path. And remember this. You will be tested. Not to break you, but to see if your new identity can hold. You'll be offered the old escape. Comfort. Approval. Being realistic. Decline it. Choose growth. Choose vision. Choose power. Quiet, grounded power. Not noise. Not flash. Just unshakable conviction that you were built for more, and now you're finally behaving like it. This is the new standard. This is the new baseline. This is the version of you who doesn't need reminders, because everything you touch now reflects what you believe. Not because you're perfect, but because you're in alignment with the truth, with value, with purpose, with wealth. And so the question now is not if success will come. The question is, are you ready to hold what's already headed your way? Because it's coming. It's already circling. It's already looking for someone to land on, someone stable, sharp, disciplined, focused. It's looking for someone like you. And now, you're ready. Let the world catch up.